The music language of Schumann is enormously rich. If in pictures at the exhibition of Mussorgsky we were enjoying in the first serial, we were surprised by pictorial richness of Mussorgsky music language, which took almost 6 hours to be literally deciphered. In comparison, symbolic Schumann's language is richer, more compressed, as every symbol contains historical roots, and without understanding them, we can't move further through his music. It's not only pictorial, graphic richness of the text we can see in Mussorgsky music, but the infinite historicity of every musical idea, every symbol that immerses us into the very depths of the European culture and traditions. Considering that Schumann is using song-like repetitiveness, he is repeating every half of every variation or every etude twice for us to grasp this huge amount of highly compressed information. If we skip it without repetition, we will be left without no information, because, like I say, it is so highly compressed, with rich content, like a modern computer archive in the form of zip file. Schumann feels it, understands it, and he separates every new portion of the highly rich information encoded in music by this repetitive structure. Nevertheless, because of this compression, this composition would be half as short as pictures at an exhibition. Without repetitions, we can go through all the musical material in 15 minutes. But music itself and ideas are so compressed, so densely pressed, so that unpacking this musical language is in literal form, we're getting into completely different time frames, into different dimensions. It's totally different size. When we unpacked all the information, it becomes like a huge literary novel, many volumes. So, here in the first variation, Schumann is taking bull by the horns right away. That is, so say, he turns around this fatal theme. He turns it backwards, start fighting death right from the beginning, turning death to life. He is adding life and tension on all levels, in all registers. Schumann is simply turning over the idea of the theme upside down. It's absolutely genius, simple. It's a childish simplicity, but also in the same way it is a genius simplicity. He will spread the music themes now all over piano keyboard and register. It will live permanently everywhere. This will never achieve and never was achieved by any composer, by Schumann, neither before nor after. This amazing man in this remarkable piece, in this wonderful composition, this piano symphony, he is giving us unique technique when we are performing on the whole keyboard simultaneously. We were having 3 or 4 hands. 3 hands playing permanently, and the 4th hand, if we adding it from time to time. This is astonishing technological achievement and miraculous philosophical and aesthetic success. So let's go through the material in a slow motion, like in a cinematic slow motion. Death theme upside down, launched up. First voice backwards, second. So we already have 2 levels, now 3rd level, 4th level. Now, he's starting torturing our vestibular apparatus, because the theme is in the middle voices are the main plot, and soprano and basses are supportive. Theme are appearing here and there, blinking here and there, with this life philosophical idea when this is upside down. This is the first time he started to play this live desk game. But the theme and everything is the plot is going in the middle voice, so our balance is completely distorted. So we have all fundamental action in the middle voice and supportive action in basses. And as I said earlier, it's completely confusing our physiology. Our vestibular system is messed up. So the theme appears in the middle voice, and it's unchanged. And our noble theme of the hero, the hero's death, is surrounded by the waves of life, where Schumann is fight death, sending it upside down, mocking the death. It's an amazing life statement. Because of it, he wanted to call it the Etude Pathétique, as a dignified struggle between life and death, started right away from the very beginning, from the first variation. But then he was afraid of becoming pathetic himself, as in the bad sense of the word, as the word pathetic could have double meaning in a negative sense. This word can define something sublime as well as ridiculous. To avoid this wrong connotation, Schumann decided to remove the term pathetic from the name of the piece. So, let's move to let's go to phrase 2. Now we have surprising metamorphose. This is yet the first idea, first theme about the death turned upside down. And as you know, then at middle part, the memories about the fallen hero, when he was alive. This kind of memorial music idealizing here appears in the middle part of the funeral marches as well as funeral themes. Schumann is creating his unique language, here, particularly here, which after 50-60 years of his death penetrates to the pop culture of the end of 19th century. It's becoming a musical symbol that it existed more than 100 years from that time to nowadays. More than 100 years. So it started here. Swift strange modulation to restaurant-like music. For sure, I'm exaggerating it. I'm a bit grimacing, but the idea is exactly this: to get away from reality, to fly away by means of one musical phrase, by one musical idea, to fly into another reality, from gloomy, deadly reality to light of lovely, untroubled emotions. To get yourself distant from death, to ponder and fly away, to express in music so fast and convincingly at the same time, to show a totally different side of a human being. In musical romanticism, only Schumann did, with such a daring swiftness, so convincing and immediate change without any preparation of the listener. As I said before, he didn't care about logic, rules, or public. He just had these fragmentary ideas, fragmentary mind. He was expressed in a clear philosophical idea in music, nothing else. This kind of music, in the end of 19th century, it goes to the silent cinema. They start to use it to portray these swift changes of the cinematic frames. When every second they have some different state of situation of the human characters. Here, Schumann's fragmentary, compressed mind was irreplaceable. As you remember, the black and white cinema with all these swift changes, they were a hero killing each other with knives, making scary eyes. Next moment, it's totally different picture. And all of this portrayed by a ballroom piano player. So the ballroom pianist used and brought Schumann's musical language, which he developed at the beginning of 19th century, they brought it to the silent cinema. Because it's so rich and picturesque. with countless mood changes in a very short period of music narrative, highly compressed. This language is so expressive, so evocative, lucid, easily demonstrate the changes of the mood so intelligently that it was inevitably getting into the cinema. Let's enjoy this amazing language. In three musical measures, we see a careless and light-hearted man. Suddenly, by way of using several sequences and quite simple modulations, from minor to major, as I said, his consciousness is very strange, is mercurious, like a mercury. It is fragmentary. He has too many thoughts overflow him, and everything is short, expressive, and highly compressed. He is returning from three musical measures into the other world, back to the previous world. In a space of several seconds, we have three different dimensions. And that's how he first finishing his first image of the death fight. And that's now finished. Such a unique music, such a unique gift, such a unique set of mind, embodied so simply. And by the way, graphically, this music language looks quite ordinary. When you look at it, it's hard to see all what I'm showing you. As it looks so, at first glance, it is almost primitive and kitty-like. Written combinations of symbols, some simple chords and melodies, nothing else. Pretty square. But we have to look very carefully into the very depths of the text, not into superficial content of chords and intervals, but into engagement and polyphony of separate voices. Separate voices integrated into the texture of all these 10 voices, chords, and interaction between all tones involved in the polyphonic communication of every tone from which all the chords and intervals are consist of. Only looking so deep we can meet Schumann's character, and Schumann's character is revealed. If we decide to write his text this way, I say, bringing on the surface all the philosophic meanings and ideas graphically, it will look quite abstract and enormously hard to read. Most musicians are getting into this trap because of the apparent simplicity of his text, which is just on the surface without closer look at them. They are getting into simplicity of fools instead of simplicity of geniuses. This often hides the original face of genius. Now I will play the first variation in its entirety.